Littleton Purnell Mitchell, known as Lit, was born November 27, 1918, to Littleton Van Mitchell and Helen Ann Mitchell in Milford, Delaware. He had two sisters and one brother. He attended the Milford Colored School till the 8th grade, then Howard High School in Wilmington, which was the only high school for African American students at the time in the state of Delaware. He graduated from Howard in 1939. It can be said that his call into his life's work actually began when he was a 5th grader in a segregated elementary school in Milford, Delaware, when he asked his teacher about an illustrated depiction of a matador in the Encyclopedia Britannica. The teacher handed him the 1932 book Death in an Afternoon by Ernest Hemingway, in which he writes about the history of the sport of bullfighting. That particular moment was a catalyst that was to shape his destiny, because just as a matador, a man armed with only a cape and a sword, stand toe-to-toe with a beast that's intent on running him down, Littleton Mitchell would eventually face down the brutal and humiliating injustice of institutional and systemic racism that threatened the lives of black Delawareans throughout the state. After he graduated from Howard High School in Wilmington, he went on to what was then Westchester State Teachers College in Westchester, Pennsylvania. He left after his sophomore year to enlist in the U.S. Army Air Corps in 1941 in World War II. Little did he know that the Germans and Japanese would be the least of his problems. He was on his way to Alabama, to Tuskegee, where he would help train the first squadron of African American combat pilots, the Tuskegee Airmen. Mr. Mitchell stated that this experience with racism was the most degrading he had ever seen in his life. He had married his wife Jane, who had just graduated from nursing school while he was stationed at Tuskegee. They both endured the other side of American life in deep Alabama. At every turn came another front to his humanity. His uniform, the one that he wore in service to the United States, made little difference. When he was discharged in 1946, he returned to Westchester, where he completed his college education. He came back to Delaware to teach, eventually becoming the first African American to teach white children at the Governor Bacon Health Center for Psychiatric Treatment of Children in Delaware City, Delaware. But his commitment to fighting for justice had not wavered, and soon the man who joined the NAACP as a 13-year-old eventually became the leader of the state chapter of NAACP. It was in this capacity that Littleton found a way to correct the injustices he had seen throughout his life. He is best known for his leadership as president of the NAACP chapter for Delaware during the height of the Civil Rights Movement. During those tumultuous years, he worked with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in an effort that resulted in the elimination of segregation in Delaware hospitals. He led a series of demonstrations that resulted in the desegregation of hotels, theaters, and volunteer fire companies in Delaware. He retired from teaching in 1984 after 36 years. He served on the Delaware Humanities Council from 1991 to 1997. Throughout his life, he received numerous awards and citations recognizing his service as a civil rights activist, educator, military veteran, and distinguished citizen. The most profound tribute to his and Mrs. Mitchell's legacy was the creation and dedication of the Jane and Littleton Mitchell Center for African American Heritage by the Delaware Historical Society at its museum in downtown Wilmington. The center honors them because they dedicated their lives to ensuring that equal rights and opportunities were afforded to African Americans and other disenfranchised Delawareans. The purpose of the center is to collect, preserve, research, and present for public enrichment the history and heritage of Delaware African Americans. Mr. Mitchell retired from his post as president of the NAACP in 1991. However, he took great pride in being around to see the first African American elected president of the United States. He said, "I could not conceive of the people of this country coming out to vote for a very intelligent, very secure black man." Litt also frequently visited schools and spoke to students about the civil rights movement, his own experiences with racism, and his time with the Tuskegee Airmen. We had the distinct pleasure of meeting Mr. Mitchell at a social function back in 2007. Although he had retired, he was still engaged in the struggle. He was a delight to talk to. He said at that time he had lived his dream, seeing a black man elected president of the United States. He passed away July 6, 2009 at the age of 90 from a tragic auto accident near his home in Delaware City. Another irony that we witnessed, he was memorialized July 14, 2009 at the University of Delaware in the same building, Mitchell Hall, where he had once been denied access. The University of Delaware president, Dr. Patrick Harker, spoke of the once adverse relationship that existed between Mr. Mitchell and the university, and that 3 decades after he was barred from speaking at UD, the university honored his pivotal work in human and civil rights by awarding him its Medal of Merit. At the memorial service, Governor Markell spoke of his courage and his close relationship. Other dignitaries such as Leland Ware, Professor of Law and Public Policy at U of D, Chris Coons, Newcastle County Executive, James Baker, Mayor of Wilmington, Myron Steele, Chief Justice of the Delaware Supreme Court, all spoke of his conviction and passion to bring about change. Vice President Joe Biden said that Litt was a friend for more than 40 years, and how Litt channeled his theory about discrimination into a means to change the system, and also the attitudes that perpetuate racial injustice and discrimination towards African Americans. Mr. Mitchell's tireless efforts contributed to Delaware's transformation from a rigidly segregated community to a state whose laws now prohibit discrimination. Mr. Mitchell's favorite quote, "A man's most precious possession is his integrity."
Jane Evelyn Mitchell was born Jane Evelyn Watson in 1921. Her immediate family included her father, Charles Elmore Watson Sr., her brother Eugene, and sisters Elaine and Arlene. She was a graduate of Howard High School Providence Hospital nursing program and later graduated from the University of Delaware in 1963. She earned her master's degree from Washington College in Chestertown, Maryland. She married Littleton Mitchell in 1943 while working at the Tuskegee Institute Hospital in Alabama. Mitchell became the first African-American registered nurse employed in a hospital in Delaware, serving as head nurse at Governor Bacon Health Center in Delaware City, Delaware. She spent the majority of her career at Delaware State Hospital in Newcastle, Delaware, where she served as supervisor of the psychiatric services and director of the nursing services. Mitchell was also active in the NAACP and along with her husband led efforts to desegregate the hospitals. Mitchell served as the president of the Delaware Nurses Association and was president of the Delaware Nurses Board of Nursing. She was the recipient of the University of Delaware's Medal of Merit and inducted into the Alumni Hall of Fame in 1998. She served on the visiting committee of the University of College of Health and Nursing Services. In 1999, Delaware Psychiatric Center in Newcastle was named in her honor. She was named Woman of the Year by the National Association of College Women and received the Award of Merit from the University of the Delaware State Council, and also received the NAACP Award and inducted into the Hall of Fame of Delaware Women. Mitchell was a member of the St. Paul's Catholic Church in Delaware City, volunteer for AARP, speaker for the American Cancer Society, and a member of the National Nursing Honor Society. She was also an artist specializing in painting and ceramics. Her husband established himself as a ferocious fighter for civil rights in Delaware. Jane, one of Delaware's first African-American nurses, known for her ability and efforts to create better health and care for African Americans in Delaware, and to end legal segregation hospitals. She was the best of the best. Final respects to Jane Mitchell, a nurse named Hero. She died at her home in Delaware City with her husband of more than 60 years, Littleton P. Mitchell, at her bedside. More than 500 mourners gathered to honor her. One of Delaware's best known nurses, often referred to as a Renaissance woman. Jane led by example and made an indelible mark on the community. She was distinguished, accomplished, and unwavering. Jane and Littleton, a significant couple, focused on closing the racial gap in education and more. Jane and Littleton's immediate family included their son, Philip Van, and his wife, Ernestine. Jane never steered away from working hard, never ever. Jane and Littleton participated enthusiastically on projects that brought together business and professional leaders to promote civil rights, including housing, public accommodations, and more. Jane Evelyn Mitchell and her husband Littleton Mitchell made a way out of no way. Thank you.